Tell me about Royals. Global number 3.
We're, I think, all openly fans of Zeenat Aman. She came in, she's like, no, where are you taping me for the audition? And they're like, you have the part. Every day that we were on set with her, I learned more and more about what it takes to outlast.
Tell us, what does it take?
Incredible. You know that Akshay Kumar interview where he's like, Shadi?
Badshah ho raha hai.
Yeah.
Main naach raha hu.
That's me, Kadi, Mundan. I was like, I'm there. Sumukhi, who practically wrote all of her own lines.
Oh, she did?
She improv'd most of it. Sometimes they didn't even have... She reached out to me on Instagram, Rhea Kapoor, if you can fly down tomorrow, make an acoustic version of the song. And I walk in and it's Kareena Kapoor and Sonam Kapoor, and I was just like, oh, this is not real life. And she's like, oh, you're actually singing, you're good. Who rated me 10 on 10?
Yeah.
And I could have gotten a minus.
You're the story that people look at and be like, that could happen with me.
Badshah was the first person to reach out to me and say, well, I'm making my first independent album. Anytime you're at a Gully Gang show, they're like, Rider ma'am. And I'm just like, yes, sure, I'll be Rider ma'am for you. Shreya Ghoshal, so kind, knows everybody by name.
Performances, to your royalties, to Bollywood, to say your career on social media. What is the split like?
Karan Aujla can go and ask and say, I need royalties because... Oh my God, the pride I had with what he was wearing at the Met Gala.
Oh my God.
Never straying from his identity, taking his interviews in Punjabi. If the entire world can adapt to being Bad Bunny fans, why not Diljit?
So true.
Which is so cool.
So the sort of criticism, say someone like Jasleen has received for opening up for Coldplay.
Yeah.
Again, on the other end, there is a lot of criticism for one particular actor,
Yeah.
and she's being sidelined.
We all said the same thing about Anil in Paris. It ended up becoming this beloved series worldwide. Royals is...
And what about singing in English? Do you think there's a market in India?
All mankind did it. But it's up to the rest of us to carry the torch forward.
Overuse of autotune.
It's a lot. It's a lot.
कुछ गा के सुना सकते हैं क्या?
My upcoming song.
Oh, yes.
Which is unreleased. ढूंढा दोनों जहानों में कहीं तेरे सिवा कोई नहीं मेरे तो सांसों में है लिखी तू ही तेरी हूँ हर एक हाल में पास तेरे रहूँ.
Hi, Lisa.
Hello.
Welcome to the Humans of Bombay show.
Thank you for having me. What a nice set.
Oh, thank you. Very, very happy to have you here.
Yeah.
We were just talking offline. Are you basking in the glory of the Royals?
I am. I feel very royal this week
Yeah.
myself. And I think it's been a long time coming, you know?
Yeah, fair enough. I
think
love
people
that.
should have treated me as royalty from day one. It took too long.
Music royalty, now acting royalty.
Music royalties is another topic. We need more of those.
We will talk about that. But tell me about Royals, right? We were just talking global number 3.
Yeah, it's
that is a
bad.
big deal. I don't think a lot of shows from India have achieved that. What
yeah.
Royals has been
It's
able to
us,
achieve.
Hira Mandi, and
Right.
I think a few others.
Right. So, what's that feeling?
Yeah, it's phenomenal. I'm getting so much feedback. Obviously, I don't know if you guys could tell. I speak Swahili. No, I'm from America.
Yeah.
And I'm getting so much feedback from my friends back home that they've all seen it. And they were like, it was so well marketed. And on their lineup for when they opened up Netflix, they were like, it was right there. So obviously we were setting our reminders. And they went through the whole show. They loved it. I think it's just exciting to see the world get this exposure to like Indian grandeur.
Yeah.
Which is a flip on the, typical global
So true. The
image of
you
India.
tried to be portrayed. That's so true.
So I think it's nice to see India as glorious and,
As it truly is.
luxurious. Lux. Yeah.
But what is that feeling like? How did you guys get to know what happens? Like if you're in the global top 3, top 10, do you get a call from Netflix? Is there PR? Is there nothing? What's happening?
No, I just hunt that website, Flix Patrol. And I was like checking the ratings. And then I keep sending Netflix messages and I'm like, hey, can you guys verify this? They're like, just wait 2 days. So I just harass them. And then we find out when they are ready to tell us. They have their ratings come out every Tuesday.
Every Tuesday, okay.
So that would mean we went number 3 in the first 4 days. And hopefully by the 10-day cycle, if you guys keep really pushing this show, we could end up number 1, which would be really, really cool for India. Hira Mandi was number 1.
Hira Mandi was number 1 for a while.
Yeah, and they also, I think, were 10 days in as well. So it took like the first week and then the second. Because that's unfortunately the cycle is 4 and 10 days.
Yeah. But how is the reaction from the family, the friends? What is happening? How's the cast feeling? Have you guys have conversations?
You know, it's so funny because this was a very intense audition process for me. And several people helped me audition in different parts of the world because I kept having to re-audition.
Tell me about that. How did that happen?
So summer before last year, so 2023 summer, I was traveling and I was told, hey, can you audition for this? Where are you? I said, well, I'm not in the country. I'm in Paris right now with my sister. And she was like, I'll help you audition. And I was like, this is a horrible idea. Because she does not have an accent that could be remotely Indian.
Oh, okay.
So I was like, this is not going to go well. So my friends helped me audition on Zoom while I was shooting the self-test in Paris.
Oh, so they were giving the cues on Zoom.
And which means in the audition tape, I'm going to post it sometime next week, there's like a 10-second lag of reaction every time. And I was like, yeah, this is not a great audition. So then they had me re-audition the next day because they're like, okay, it was good, but maybe try to face the camera next time. And I was like, because I was so fixed on the computer cues, like, is it on? Is the Wi-Fi connecting? And then a week later, another friend had to help me because I was continuing on to Switzerland. So then we did 2 rounds of auditions there that were, self-shot. And then I came back to India and my casting director was like, oh, thank God, can we do a proper one here?
Okay, another round.
Yeah, we did another round. Again, we did it twice.
Okay.
And you wouldn't believe, they're usually sometimes the smallest things.
Yeah.
It's sometimes just like the accessories or the hair because directors want a very specific image they have in
a vision.
mind. Yeah.
Right.
So they really want that character to make sense for how they envisioned it on screen.
Yeah.
Initially, obviously, I'm assuming the first 4 auditions were just badly shot. But it was an interesting thing. And I know now I'm getting feedback from the people who helped me audition.
Right.
My friend Tashar in Switzerland was like, this is that scene that I helped you do 17 times. But it's overwhelming. My friends, they had like a trivia night.
Yeah.
In Chicago, and I was one of the questions. Like,
how cool is that?
Yeah, it was really cool. So he sent me a little picture.
It's a spectrum, right? You begin from a quiz night and your friends, and then you end up on Kaun Banega Crorepati as a question. I think that's the spectrum of success.
I agree.
Yeah.
And I think it's high time.
Yeah.
I should have been a question years ago.
I love that. So clearly it's not easy getting it, right? And I can imagine. This was more elaborate than usual casting processes.
Yes.
I mean, casting is usually elaborate, but this is like
This is a multi-star. There's so many people in the lead cast.
Correct.
So it was a very extensive process because not only, if they were this particular with me, they were very intense about the whole thing.
Yeah.
Other than the lead 4 who were offered the roles, everyone else was very meticulously casted.
Yeah.
So on the royal family side, the siblings would have been in rounds of auditions. Us on the office side would have had to do the same. And then the tertiary cast, everybody else had to go through several different things. And you're looking at sometimes the set having 600 people. Like the Maharaja's Raj Tilak was
because of the
so
junior
big.
artists and the...
Yeah, and even they have to be dressed
of course.
with makeup and jewelry because nothing in that shot can look out of place.
So true.
So they can't just like wear clothes from home. Even every single detail had to be so, meticulously planned.
Yeah. And I get what you're saying because I get that you guys cast it. I'm sure like Zeenat Aman wasn't casted. She was asked. She was like, ma'am, will you please do this?
But
because
we would sweet story about that. I don't know if you've seen it. Our producer creator, Rongita, talked about this in an earlier interview, which is incredible. She came in to her reading with the director and she stood up and they were like, oh, ma'am, you can sit. And she's like, no, where are you taping me for the audition? And they're like, you have the part. And, she's got this insane sense of, integrity
wow.
and the humility to be who she is
wow.
and come in and still be ready to give an audition.
That
being, a legendary actress. And it was incredible to hear that story. It also really was a lesson for all of us in our generation that this is who you have to be for the rest of your life.
So true.
Always assume that you are going to be auditioned. Always assume that you haven't gotten the part because it, one, keeps you humble, and 2, keeps you pushing more in your art. So, I think that was the sweetest thing I'd heard. I was like, I can't believe she was standing there and waiting to be you know.
That is insane.
Yeah.
Because in the West, this happens. Even the legends of Hollywood still audition.
Of course.
And it's a very normal process because
Of course.
it's not about the director telling you that we don't trust your acting skills because, of course, we know
It's
how
who's
good you
right
are.
for this role.
Yeah. So that inhibition is not there in the West. We've also realized it's there a lot in India. So it's so good to see people like Zeenat Aman being like,
she's coming in.
hey, where do I stand?
Assuming she's not gotten the part yet.
Wow.
Yeah, so that was incredible. I think that like every day that we were on set with her, I learned more and more about what it takes to outlast and, you know, stay in this industry for as long as she has.
Tell us,
And
what does it take?
Incredible patience, humility, and a sense of, you know, like you said, integrity. It's about having tons of self-respect, which in turn means respect for everybody else around you.
Yeah.
So she's very good about not ever complaining. Now, this is a woman in her 70s shooting in Rajasthan where it's, you know, peak Lu. It's nearly 40 degrees.
Yeah.
And because she's on the royal side of it, she's wearing layers and layers of heavy garments, heavy jewelry, not complaining at all.
Yeah.
Sitting for hours if the take is, you know, requiring that, and not going back to her trailer, not making a fuss, not asking for anything.
Wow.
Just patient and calm and there for the job. And I was like, okay, wow, we are such a whiny generation. And I say that for myself. I was like, the most minor inconvenience might throw me off.
Yeah, and you're complaining about it.
And she's just there, chilling.
Wow.
She's taking it. She's like, it's fine. We'll roll when we roll.
That's insane.
I'm here to execute the director's vision.
Insane how there are parallels between true legends. Because I believe there is a similar story about Amitabh Bachchan also. I think Anupam Kher had said it in one of his interviews where same thing happened. He was on set and he was feeling hot, and then he looks around and sees Amitabh Bachchan is sitting there with his suit and he has a blanket or whatever, like in heavy makeup and beard, and it's hot and he's just sitting there quietly and there's no fan. He's not asking for anything. He's like, okay, when do I shoot? It's so crazy how I mean, the same thing I had when you were telling me I had goosebumps, because it's so insane to see how legends at a certain level have these qualities that are very common in them, right?
It's grit, right? They've had to go through so much over decades.
So true.
That they've seen it all. They know that a tantrum means you could lose the job, or that, you know, at the very least you might give a bad take because your mood is off. So it's something is about, you know, obviously part of it is just being a great artist and staying in the zone and making sure that you're fully in character and ready when the director calls you. And the other part is just being incredibly courteous and respectful. And I was just in awe of her the whole time. I was like, what a lesson I've learned being on this set.
I'm smiling listening to it.
Yeah, she's so cool.
You were on set with her, so I can imagine.
Yeah, she's a very, like, I mean, we're, I think, all openly fans of Zeenat Aman's Instagram comeback.
Oh, yes, absolutely.
Everyone is just, you know, waiting for the next post all the time. But she really does have a way with words. She's so intellectual. She's so cultured. You can pick up any topic with her. She's a great conversationalist.
Yeah.
While also not at all wanting to be the center of attention. She's always like, she's fine to have a conversation, but doesn't require anything to be said. Wow. It's just cool. She's just cool.
I want to be Zeenat Aman when I grow up.
Right? All of us. I was just like, yeah, she's just so cool.
And how was it with the others? You had a lot of crazy actors.
It was miserable. I hated everyone except Zeenat Aman.
Man, I can completely imagine those guys.
No,
but tell me, you had some wonderful people, such good actors, and lovely bunch of people. What was that like? There was Nora, Ishan, Bhumi, Sumukhi.
Oh God, it was such a cool cast. I think every single person was cast perfectly for this show, basis their previous work or their actual personality. And it just fit. When we were on set, everyone really immediately fit into their silos. Like, this is the funny one, and this is the adventurous one, and this is the strict and you know, stern one. Probably the only one who really was acting was Zeenat Aman and her weed babies. But everyone else, I think, it was a joy to be on set with so many experienced actors, because I actually have the least experience by all metrics from everyone else on screen. It was really cool to see people at that level right in front of me or sharing the scene with me. So having Bhumi Pednekar and Ishan Khattar, who are both really just, you know, some of the industry's best, to share screen time with and learn from. And then, of course, even Vihan, who's incredible in the show.
Yeah, he's done some phenomenal work recently.
Yeah, and Kavya, who's opposite me, who's just so correct for this role.
Yeah.
It was great. It was phenomenal. And then obviously Sumukhi, who practically wrote all of her own lines.
Oh, she did?
She improv'd most of it. It was amazing. Yeah. Sometimes they didn't even have the line written for her. It would just say, like, Kirtana says
whatever Sumukhi feels like.
Yeah, basically. They gave her a lot of flexibility with that, and she's brought so much of her own tone and
so
color
good.
to this.
Yeah, so true.
Which is evident. I think she was just having a blast. She was just hanging out and killing it.
Well, tell me something very honestly. What happens in a set like this when you have so many people, so many different perspectives? Is there ever, are there arguments? Are there discussions? Are you guys... I'm sure you're all always trying to collaborate, but I'm sure there are differences that happen in terms of opinion or the way you want to... So how do you solve that? How is the sort of the vibe on set?
The vibe on set is actually pretty manageable because, like I said, I'm the least experienced. So I think mainly because they've all done this for so long, they know how to handle the disagreements. Like, if a scene is not working for them or they need something else from the co-actor, which has happened, even with me and Bhumi, she might just ask me to run it with her with a different tone before we, take again. So like, I could try it this way. What about this? Or stand here if, this angle isn't suiting you. She really looks out for everybody.
Oh, wow.
And make sure that everybody gets their angle and their lighting and their delivery isn't compromised because of some small technical thing. So it's never an argument. It's always just really helpful. Wow. I think that just comes with experience. They're all so experienced. Yeah. They know where they can push more.
Yeah.
And then the other part of it is just being really respectful of your directors and producers. Yeah. So everyone was just like, we're not here. At least like sometimes there were 600 people, 300 people on set. The last thing that Nupur and Priyanka needed from us is like, actually, I think I can do this again. They're like, let me tell you. Relax. So that was easy to manage. There were hardly any differences of opinion that, escalated. Yeah.
No, it's that thing, right? Good actors understanding that if you give room to other actors, you'll actually be able to act better. Because it's a scene together and it's
absolutely
not just you.
What you're there to do is just serve the scene.
Yeah.
And if you make it about you, it becomes very transparent, especially to the viewer, that I didn't get anything out of this other person.
Correct.
And only your work will suffer if you have that ego about it.
Yeah.
So no one really had an ego about scene stealing.
Yeah. No, that's good. That's good to
which
hear.
Which is remarkable for a cast of this size.
Exactly. That is why I asked, because such a big ensemble cast, it's very human to have different perspectives. But it's so good to hear that.
No, I think they're all just incredible professionals.
Yeah.
So they were very good about all this. I might have been the one who would have thrown a tantrum if I didn't know any better.
No, I don't think so. I think the way you're constantly talking about how you were like, I was the fresher. You were clearly very cognizant of the fact
I was like,
that you're there to learn and grow.
Well, how am I here? I was just in constant awe of did you mean to have me here? You sure about this choice?
Was it different Lisa? Is it Lisa Hayden you were casting?
So it's catering. Is that what you hired me for? I'll go help.
Love it. And you were also playing a queer person.
Yeah.
Was that added pressure?
Not at all. I thought it was fantastic.
Yeah.
That I got to play this role because I feel like it's like so blasé to say this, but love is love. It's really you all fall in love the same way. Yeah. Romance feels the same person to person.
Yeah.
So I didn't treat it any differently than I did being opposite Veer in Call Me Bae or in anything else I've done in my music videos or things like that. I was very just like, okay, cool. Like nothing changed. Also because we had the privilege of these characters existing in a world where it's fairly okay.
Yeah.
And they didn't have to go through that journey of coming out or struggling externally, although Ginny has her internal struggle because she's questioning and not out. We don't exist in a world where this is taboo. So that, touch wood, is the blessing of this character arc, is we don't have to portray that side of the darkness.
Yeah.
So then it makes the work really, really easy. I'm sure it would have been different if I had to do that, if I had to do a coming out journey.
Yeah, if the setting was different.
Absolutely. If the setting was different and if the storyline called for it, it would have been treated differently. But I had a blast with it. I was just like, okay, I just get to fall in love with somebody, and she's beautiful and amazing and nurturing and kind. So A+.
And you know what's really nice is to see the audience also treat it so normally.
Yeah.
That's what I love. That you don't have to make a big thing about it because so what?
And also
that's the beauty.
There's multiple arcs of this in the series. So what's wonderful is it's not tokenized.
Yeah.
You're not using this as an opportunity to make some sort of a statement.
Correct.
One, because it's assumed this is normal. And two, because there's multiple arcs with this theme. So it's lovely to have a series where it's just so common.
I think that is the statement.
Yeah, that is the statement.
Keeping it subtle and keeping it normal because it is normal, that is the statement.
That's what. How do we normalize this? By making it normal. Correct. Don't make it weird.
Yeah, love that. Before this, you've had Call Me Bae. Mm-hmm. You've also had your singing career. Yeah. There's so much happening in your life.
There's a lot.
Yeah. How did that transition happen? Singing to acting?
I think I just love attention. Just like, I need more. What are these actors up to? No, I think I just love entertaining. Honestly, I think music was something I loved since I was 4 years old. And at the same time, I was really interested in voice acting and doing, accents and mimicry and all these things. So I don't think it surprised anyone who's really close to me that we're on this trajectory. I ended up becoming an actor because I'm like a nautanki since birth. So I would put on shows, I would do accents, I would, speak in different voices since I was little. And I think now the fully realized version of that is being an actor on screen. Yeah. Which is why I think like even my parents, when they watched both the series, they were like, it just doesn't seem like this is your first work or your second work.
Because they've also seen you do that since childhood.
Because they're so used to it. They were like, oh, there's all her weird stuff. Now she has a place to channel it.
People are watching this?
They're
paying her for this?
For this.
Yeah.
Yeah, so I think, although it wasn't planned, naturally, my music career wasn't planned. It sort of happened at me, right? And like I wanted to always do music, but I never saw it as a professional career because we come from a very normal Indian household. Right. Dad is a banker, mom is a teacher. And, you don't think about growing up in Odisha, where we're from, getting to be in Bollywood. Yeah. That's not even a dream that you can conceive. Yeah. It's so far-fetched. Yeah. And so I went on this whole path and I kept my interest in music. I kept singing my whole life. I kept making these YouTube videos. But that took 11 years until someone thought it merited a career. Yeah. So it's same way with acting. Once I came here to India, within about 3 months of moving here, maybe it's just the energy of Mumbai. But I also think it's that you realize how interconnected these communities are. Yeah. That I started auditioning. By, January of 2019, I was actively auditioning. And it would have been less than 6 months since I moved. And it took 4 years for me to land my first role because I wasn't good enough. I thought acting was like, you just read what's on the page and have some fun. Yeah. But it's a lot more work than that. Yeah. And I can say that because I got rejected so many times. But yeah, it's a sort of unexpected journey. Yeah. But maybe it was destined, is like the way I can wrap my head around it. I think
that is why I see you having so much gratitude, and I don't think you're ever going to take it for granted.
I can't.
Because you've seen what it's taken you to get here. You're the overnight success that took 15 years in the making.
Yes, and I think the other reason is because we are in a city of entertainment, and you see how densely populated it is with artists who might never have this break. Yeah. So how can I take it for granted?
That's so true.
There's people who've worked way longer at this.
That is so true.
Trained much harder, have the chops, and I might be taking their seat. Yeah. So the least I can do is take my job seriously and have an immense amount of gratitude for the spaces that I'm in.
I love that.
Yeah.
So you were talking about Odisha, right? Mm-hmm. You were born in Odisha and then you moved to Chicago when you were very young.
I was very young. I was 6 years old. So all my early memories are just food.
Oh, yes. Oh, man. The deep dish pizza of Chicago.
All the early memories of Odisha are food. All my early memories of life are food. So I think I was just meant to eat.
Did you ever have an identity crisis? Did you ever feel like you were too Indian for the West and too Western for India?
No,
No?
because my parents did a really great job of raising us within our culture in the house. They were really, really good and diligent about us using Odia at home. My mom is a professor of English,
Oh.
so she has no use of English inside the house while living in America. She saw it as like a waste of resources, because your children are going to get exposed once they leave the house.
Correct.
Your parents don't need to learn English. They're PhDs in English.
Yeah.
So there's no reason to exchange words in English inside the house. So might as well make us fluent in Odia. And that kept us very Indian at home. So the food we ate, the language we spoke, the, religious rituals and things, it was all very Indian inside the house. So I never felt this, identity crisis. I also feel like, I don't know, I feel like there were bigger problems. I was very, sensitive to, I grew up in a city that's incredibly segregated.
Yeah.
I grew up in a city that has a high crime rate.
Yeah.
And, socioeconomic strata is very apparent even to a 6-year-old.
Yeah.
So I was like, I don't have a struggle. Come on. Like, I'm good. It's fine. I think there are much bigger things happening. There's much bigger issues with other communities. If I just have to figure out who I am within the fold of Indian and American, I can do it.
I can do that.
It's fine. I got this. It could be way worse.
I love that. You're very, very sorted as a person.
Yeah. Tell that to my therapist. She's like, no, do not lie to her. She is overconfident.
There's one thing you and I have in common. You were a data analyst.
I was.
I was a data analyst in Bangalore for 4 years.
Wow.
So we've crunched the numbers. We've lived that life.
Did you code?
Yeah, a little bit.
What did you write in?
I wrote in R and SQL and HTML a little
Same.
bit. Yeah?
Same. I did SQL and R. I did SQL and Python because R was a step up. So I didn't get to R. I got to Bollywood before then. I didn't graduate to R.
But what was that life and how did you make that switch, right? So you were a data analyst just before you came to India.
Just before I came.
So there was a switch not just in cities but also careers.
It was everything.
Right? And you were obviously leaving behind a very
stable, secure, Indian parent approved job.
Yeah. So tell me about that because that is the most difficult decision to take.
Totally.
So how
saying goodbye to a consistent paycheck is tough.
And a good paycheck.
And a good paycheck to take up freelance in a foreign country as an artist.
How did you decide?
Dubious choices in my life. No. I was young. And that's the short answer. I think I was young enough that I could take a risk. And I didn't have any responsibilities tethering me. Like I didn't have children. I wasn't married. I wasn't in a relationship even.
Yeah.
So I think it was easy because what was I really risking? 6 months maybe of my time to give it a shot and come back and see. The great thing about pursuing a career in anything in data or info or tech is you will always get a job.
Yeah, they'll take you back.
Yeah, they'll take you back or you'll find a new job.
Yeah.
So luckily, I had parents that were supportive of me taking this little break. But again, the Indian mental training was that, can I really take 6 months off? So I came here and initially I was interning as a data analyst for Pooja Dhingra at Le 15. I was trying to help them. I was trying to help them build a data bank to reduce like daily waste. I was like, "What is your least bought macaron? Let's take it out."
Oh, nice.
And within 2 months, it was very evident I couldn't carry it on because I remember there's songs I've written with for Badshah sitting in the break room at Le 15. So I think that's when Pooja was like, I think you should just be a musician now. You don't have to do data.
Oh, wow, that's crazy.
Yeah, because I couldn't, I don't know, something in me was
I completely get it.
I can't see the gap in the resume.
Yeah.
I want to be like, okay, well, I took a break.
You have that thing in your head. What if 1 year later I'm sitting in front of a recruiter and they're like, what is this 1 year gap in your
and
resume?
you can't go like, I was trying to find myself.
Yeah.
Like, I don't think they're going to hire you. And they're like, well, you're a flight risk.
Yeah, but I love the jugaad sitting there also figuring this out.
Yeah, but that comes naturally to me because I'll make the best of any sort of opportunity to make music. Because so many of my videos when I was a data analyst were shot in my car during my lunch break. So many of them. There's tons of 1 minute videos of me doing live sessions and everything. So my initial audience before Tareefan obviously was from YouTube.
Right.
And then the transition to like a good 60,000 on Instagram, which in 2018 was a lot of people already.
Yep.
So they were used to seeing me, they're like 1:00, she's going to go on her lunch break, she's going to turn on live and sing.
Oh.
Or I would shoot a video in my car and post it. So it was very natural for me to like make any space adaptable to my work and my music.
That's crazy.
Yeah.
So you take that decision, you take the plunge, because I'm guessing you also have that thought,
What's there to really lose?
And you don't want to have that regret. That classic when I'm
And can you
50 on my
having...
rocking chair, should have gone for that regret.
And it's an absurd thing to turn down.
Yeah.
When like Anil Kapoor's family is in your DMs, you probably should just do the thing. That's not going to happen twice.
I love that.
Yeah. I was just like, oh, this is real. My parents thought it wasn't real, by the way. They were like, this is a hoax. I was like, no, it's got like a verified blue tick. Yeah. My dad's like, why would I let you fly across the world from a DM? And I was like, fair, would you like to come? And he came.
Oh,
and
sweet.
it was very sweet. He was on set the whole time. He was seeing how all this works. He was falling asleep. It was like between takes, my dad would always be in this position. Huh? So I was like, yeah, this is most of the work. It's waiting. But it was phenomenal. It was like a dream come true. And it was the reason I made that decision. I went back after the video.
Yeah. But tell me about that. How did that happen?
Yeah, I mean, she reached out to me on Instagram. Rhea,
she being...
Rhea Kapoor.
Right.
And basically she was looking up the hashtag of Veere De Wedding. And I had done a cover of Tareefan right when it came out. But there was still 1 month before the film released.
Okay.
So she was like, listen, we have this window of time. If you can fly down tomorrow, I'll send you tickets. We'll figure out your accommodations. Come to India, make an acoustic version of the song. We can still release it before the film comes out. And then we'll do this like nice story building around it and we'll get everybody to watch it via social media. And I was like, all right, kid, it's go time. And I got on a plane.
Oh, wow.
I went there. I made the song. And the next day, she was like, you have to be up at 6 a.m. for hair and makeup. I was like, for what? And she's like, well, there's a music video. And I was like, oh, yes, naturally, many experienced music videos. I was like, okay. And
which car are we shooting in?
Yeah, which car? What corner of the office do I sit in and make this?
Yeah.
But I really thought it was going to be something like this.
Yeah.
That at best, it would be just me playing guitar, lip syncing to what I'd recorded the day before and making it look organic. And I walk in and it's Kareena Kapoor and Sonam Kapoor. And I was just like, oh, this is not real life. And like, you sit across Sonam and she's sharing a tin of makhana with you and you're just like, what? And Bebo walks in and we call cut on this last take of the song.
Right.
And that frame, I'm singing here and the girls are all sitting there and Rhea's in the middle. Also in the video, it's like a bonfire basically.
Yeah.
And we call cut and then she hears the guitar stop playing and me stop singing. And she's like, oh, you're actually singing, you're good. And I was like, Kareena Kapoor just justified my entire existence. I'm a person as of today, as of this moment. Meanwhile, my dad's like, your $100,000 education counts for nothing. I was like, shut up.
Yeah, that's one.
Bebo said I'm cool.
Yeah, Pooh knows me. Pooh rated me 10 on 10.
Pooh rated me 10 on 10, and we know how heavy that rating system is, okay? I could have gotten a minus.
Yeah. Oh my God.
It was great.
Wow.
It was an incredible moment, and I think that was the impetus. Like, listen, you did this thing.
Yeah.
Are you going to go back and sit there and act like it was just this story to tell your kids one day? And I did. I went back to my desk job. And then the song released and I watched it start charting from 5 to 3 to number 1. And when it became number 1 on Apple, Rhea called me and she's like, come on, move.
Yeah.
And I was like, all right, I got to move. I lied to my employers. I was like, I am taking a leave for creative reasons. And then in a week, they're like, you're posting from India. Did you move? Safe to say, I was not going to be employed by them if I ever came back. Yeah. Like, she's a flight risk now, officially. It was amazing. I think 7 years later, it still feels surreal because it happens never. How often do these stories come up, right? So I think
you are that exception to the rule.
Yeah,
you realize that, right, Lisa? You're the exception. You're not the rule. You're the story that people look at and be like, that could happen with me.
That's what. I think the coolest part of all of this was that, there were a handful of us making these guitar covers sitting in our bedrooms. And then there was a generation, especially of young girls, picking up guitars, singing. And it all came from making covers of my version of the song. So they were like, oh, I wanted to post a video too, so I'm going to sing your song. And I was like, first of all, the fact that you're saying it's my song is crazy because I've never released a professionally recorded song. And then the fact that it, reverberated and all these young girls were doing the same thing, I was just like, yeah, this is the coolest journey ever.
Yeah.
Like it's something to write about later in life for sure.
You
have to write this.
Land up in Bollywood and inspire an entire generation. Just another day at the office.
No. It's largely hats off to the two sisters.
For them to have that conviction, for them to have the belief, for you to just be like, hey,
yeah.
And then they're putting you in the music video with all these people.
And that
doesn't
speaks
happen.
to someone's ability to share the space and the limelight, especially when you're so junior.
Yeah.
You're just a kid.
Yeah.
And to be given that respect is astounding.
Yeah. We've shot with Kareena Kapoor, and I keep telling people that she's the true definition of a superstar. Like, she's a person when she walks in, you're like, of course, born to be a star. That's how stars are. Makes sense. She has an aura about herself that you don't normally find.
Like, Sonam was warm in a way that felt like I'd known her forever. But Kareena Kapoor walked in and I was like, whoa. I was like, that is, whoa. I don't know what just happened to my body.
It's happened with us also.
Yeah.
Oh, man.
Yeah, I think it was a pretty great start to a new life. I think it could have been much more difficult. That's why I have that extreme gratitude and awareness of exactly the privileges I've been afforded. Goes without saying, it takes a lot of hard work to reach that moment, but
you were deserving of that privilege.
I would like to think so,
yeah.
But then I have to, acknowledge the fact that incredibly blessed the way that it all happened.
Yeah. And then from there, did the offers start rolling in? How did you get more songs? Because you worked with some insane people in the industry, right? From Badshah to Divine to Krsna.
Yes, so Badshah was the first person to reach out to me and say, well, I'm making my first independent album, and I want you to work with me on this. And so cool of him that he trusted me to write my own verse. So he's like, you're going to be the hook of the song and figure it out. And I was like, what? That's the one that I wrote at Le 15 sitting in the break room. And ended up in his album, and I couldn't believe it because I would just send him little voice memos of being like, is this good enough? And he was like, great. He never made any changes.
Yeah.
So he was like, this is solid. Keep going.
Wow.
Yeah. And then
the album received a lot of love. The songs received a lot of love. It was an insane album.
Yeah, it was great. For his first, it was awesome. It was phenomenal. It was a really great way for me to realize that, like, everything isn't going to be playback and handed to me, because sometimes what happens with people who sing cover songs for as long as I did, we just assume it'll always be done for you, because, like, I never had the pressure of writing or composing or anything other than just singing. And he put the pressure on me, and he made me a musician. That day I became a true musician.
Wow.
Because he was like, look, if you can play guitar, you know how music works.
Correct.
So now do the other parts. And I was like, oh, yeah, should have thought of this earlier. So we did this album.
Right.
And then the next year, I had a really great run of, many, many songs, independent and in film, that did really well and were placed really well, touch wood. And got the right audiences and got the right attention. And I think it all, was because of that initial song. Because the exposure was so wide that any composer that wanted to get in touch knew that they could just DM me.
That's how it works with this girl.
Yeah.
You gotta DM her.
They're like, don't go through her management, just shoot her a message and she'll fly to any country in the world.
But who was your favorite? Or was it a favorite, or did you learn different things from
to work with?
Yeah.
Let me think. I think there's one, as an experience, which was just so cool, was Writer with Divine. And that, again, was really cool because he made a post on Instagram and said, who should I have on my album? And I just wrote a comment and I said, pick me. The only time in life I encourage you to be pick me's. And he messaged me and was like, cool, let's write. So he had already done the hook of that song and sent me, the rest of it to fill in with my own verse. He approved it fairly immediately, helped fill in all the Hindi, because at the time I couldn't write in Hindi.
Okay.
And yeah, we did it. We did that incredible song. It had so much love from fans, and it's become this classic in his set list. He plays it in most of his sets, actually, which is really cool.
Yeah.
Because it didn't get it's deserved exposure. It came out right before the Delta wave.
Yeah.
So we had to kind of cap our marketing on it, obviously,
Yeah.
because it was a very sensitive time.
Correct.
So it's really cool that he still plays it, despite it not being in the top, maybe even 15 songs of his. But he also really loves the song.
Yeah, it's also discovered by his fans, and then they keep.
Yeah, so there's a cult following for sure.
I'm sure you experienced that love.
It's awesome. Anytime you're at a Gully Gang show, they're like, Rider Ma'am, and I'm just like, yes, sure, I'll be Rider Ma'am for you. It's great.
It's crazy. I mean, the people you worked with, they have such a massive fan base. Like Badshah has such a dedicated fan base. Divine has such a dedicated fan base. What is that? Does that translate to you?
Totally.
Or are they very critical of how you work with them?
No, they're a very loyal fan base, which is really great because it's a really strong indicator for what the future of Indian music will be. Because we have yet to build fan bases like the West has.
Correct.
And, be able to put ticketing at that level, price-wise, and be able to give fans, curated moments that are just for them, or merch that's just for them.
Yeah.
Building these fan clubs and things, which I grew up on that in America, but it's just starting to come up now. And I was lucky enough to work with actually probably almost all of the people who've made this shift in the industry happen, which is Badshah, Krsna, Divine, Pradeep Guhard, Ritviz. And they have these cults who are hyper loyal, which is really cool. So anytime you go to any of their shows, their fans immediately crowd you and they're like, it's my favorite song, I love your song, and they know every word, which is really great.
Yeah. I mean, for 90s kids in India, the definition of a musical pop star then and now probably would be
Lucky
Ali, Sonu Nigam, Sunidhi, Chauhan. Those are the guys who performed on stage, not just sang, they performed. They had performances and dances and a whole,
put
act
on a show.
Put together. Sunidhi Chauhan is still,
I watched her in Chicago when I was like 12.
Yeah.
She and Sonu Nigam did that tour and they brought the tour to Chicago, and I remember then thinking, wow, she's like a superstar. He's like Michael Jackson.
Yeah.
And they wanted to be respected in that way, and they knew how to put on a show because they'd seen globally how it's done, and that we could give more to our audience.
Correct.
So it's really helped us all push the production value of our sets. And then only you can expect fans to feel like it's worth paying above $10K for this experience, because it has to be an experience.
Correct.
It can't just be me standing at a mic and singing God Bless Adele, though she can do whatever she wants.
I mean,
I would pay anything. if she was like behind a curtain singing, I would still pay money.
Oh man. Have you ever met them?
Adele?
Our Adele, Sunidhi Chauhan.
Our Adele.
Yeah.
No, I have met Sunidhi Chauhan. Lovely human being. We both were on that Badshah independent album, and I ran into her at something a couple of days later. And she was so happy for me. She's like, you're a little kid and she's doing things. And I've met Shreya Ghoshal.
Yeah.
So kind.
What a legend.
So sweet. And like knows everybody by name.
Wow.
Yeah. I was like, I don't know if you know me. She's like, you're Lisa. Vishal Dadlani has told me so much about you. And I was like, me? I matter? So she's gracious. Wow. She's amazing. Sonu Nigam and I actually had an opportunity to sing together at a private wedding that I was playing and he was a guest at, and I did the most cheesy and awful thing. I was like, please come sing with me. I knew what he was going to sing. I'm going to give you a guess as to what you think he sang.
You'll
probably be right.
No, I'm not going to guess. Tell me.
It's the Antara of Kal Ho Na Ho. And it was so nice because I as he's walking up
I thought
to me,
that, but I couldn't because it doesn't have a female version.
It doesn't have a female version.
Yeah, so I was wondering.
But it was so nice because he picked up the mic and I knew the word that was I don't know, I had like this premonition. I was like, he's gonna go Jahe Jut. I was like, oh man, this is so nice.
Oh.
And he loved it. It wasn't a burden to him to be asked to sing. He was so happy to do it. And I was like, that's a true performer.
Yeah.
He was like along for the ride. He had no issue.
He is a performer out and out. So true. This was at a private wedding.
Yeah.
So tell me about that, right? That also is very
a big market for us. That pays our bills.
Yeah, it does more than I believe, I think it was Shah Rukh Khan only. I think he said it in an interview that when someone asked him, why do you dance at weddings? He said, I do that because that actually pays my bills.
Yes.
Acting, I just do because that's my passion. I don't mind not getting paid for that.
Yeah.
Is that true for you guys as well?
Yeah, 100%. And the thing is, I think for musicians, the good thing is that we are still doing the same thing we do on another stage.
Right.
So it's still your passion.
Correct.
You're still on stage.
Still making people happy, entertaining them.
Yeah, so for us, it's the exact same. I love wedding shows. I kill at wedding shows. I'm just saying, bookings wise, please hire me. I kill at wedding shows. I think it's so fun. I think bringing joy into this important moment in someone's life is great. Even if it's a bad wedding show, as in like the crowd is dead. Yeah. My band and I have the greatest time because we can hear ourselves in our in-ears and we're like, we sound so good. We're loving it. So that really tells you we're just happy to perform. Yeah. And I was like, where do you want? You know that Akshay Kumar interview with like Shadi?
Bachcha ro raha hai.
Yeah.
Main naach raha hu.
That's me.
Main naach raha hu. That one I know, yeah.
Shadi, Mundan. I was like, I'm there.
Yeah.
So you want, to welcome your baby into this world with my surili awaz, call me to the delivery room. I'm there.
No, so tell me this, Lisa, tell me the breakdown. From your performances to your royalties to Bollywood to say your career on social media. What is the split like for somebody in the music industry today? What is it, especially for somebody who's getting in to understand how they can be making money?
Yeah.
What is that like?
Yeah, I'll tell you from my career, because I think everyone's is set up very differently. Yeah. As somebody who's a hybrid of doing independent and, paid work in terms of films and stuff. Obviously, film work, I don't have the royalties and the rights to that song.
That rests with the music company.
Yes, that rests with the label, whoever that label is. And they justify it by saying, well, the song stays with you and it's going to be, crores of spends from marketing, which will then get you booked and you'll play lots and lots of shows, which is the very old school, like Motown way of doing it in the US. Now on the side, there's no restriction for you making other music. So if you want to make independent music and you believe in your work and you want to put your own money down and own the rights to everything that you've done, you have the option. Right. So
like what Divine has done.
What Divine has done, what Pratik Kuhad has done, what Anup Jain has done. I think now we have enough examples. And actually, Divine, I'm pretty sure, has been consistently, ever since Gully Boy, has been a label artist. Yeah. And Pratik mostly has been a label artist for the last many years. But it's so you can earn, I would say, the bulk of your earning, if you're like me, who came out of social media, is from that. It's still going to be branded, and it's going to be because I have my most captive audience on that medium. Yeah. My captive audience is not streaming like Anup Jain. So Anup will earn much more on streaming. Correct. I will earn much more on social media. Right. Because they're used to seeing this frame all the time. So number one, I think, is that. Right. Number two is private shows and weddings, which again is because they're so used to me specifically being the person they want, and they want that intimacy. So I know, like, the mentality behind hiring me for a wedding is because there is an intimacy to the way that I made those videos. Correct. And they want that song sung the same way that I sang in my bedroom. So they're looking for that experience and right in front of them. Yeah. So my second highest is that. I would say after that would be public shows, because that market is now starting to open up.
Concerts, public shows.
Concerts and public shows, which sort of the industry standard is you acknowledge you're going to earn less on that, but you'll get much more exposure because the fan base is there. And it's not necessarily only going to be your audience, because if you're playing a festival, you have crossover and basically free audience members who are just... there. Yeah. So
that split is between the production company, the sponsors.
Yeah, you usually take a flat fee.
Okay.
Unless Diljit helps produce the tour, so he earns on the tour as well. Okay. Because he's put his money into it. Right. But if I'm not the one producing and I have no stake in that, I just take a flat fee. Okay. And then the last would be, for me, because I'm new to this, is royalties. Because I had such a long career in playback singing and I didn't own my own music. Right. Now I'm getting into the space where I'm seeing checks from my own royalties. So
how does that pan out?
I mean, it's just that I'm putting money into my own releases now.
No, so royalties from your independent releases, or now is Bollywood also giving royalties?
No. It's going to be everything that's back catalog is back catalog. It's theirs. I mean, we have people now finally negotiating for that to change. Okay. So if I wanted that now, I could ask, of course.
And people are open to
It depends on how big you are. Yeah. Yeah. I think some of the bigger artists for sure can negotiate that.
Right.
I Karan Aujla can go and ask and say, I need royalties because, it's a fair exchange.
Yeah, correct.
I'm bringing in who I am to this.
Correct. It's no more about just the exposure for him
exactly, because he doesn't
anymore.
need the exposure.
Yeah.
So Diljit Dosanjh is not going to be looking for exposure.
True.
So it's in that sense, of course, you can walk in and ask for royalties now, or you can ask for a heavier fee in exchange.
So it's kind of like what's also happening synonymously on the acting front, where actors are also getting involved in
or
the
Ryan
profit
Coogler,
share.
who's getting money off of his directing.
Yeah, on the profit share. Similarly, on the royalties.
Ownership of the film, ownership of the song.
But is it difficult to negotiate? Is the market, is the music industry as sort of strict or difficult to navigate as sometimes it's put out?
It is much more difficult because it's so nascent. Everything is so new that I think the infrastructure and knowledge around all of this is lax. It'll take years for us to fully understand as artists what we're owed, and for labels to fully understand what they owe artists. Yeah. And you're seeing it now with the biggest names, which is fantastic because it'll, trickle down. Yeah. So that's how my career is shaped up, because I am a social media face. That earns the most. Private weddings after that, private shows in general, then festivals, and then royalties.
Right. So it's more about, like you said, the maturity of the industry.
Yeah.
The place we are at, more than it being the big bad music industry. Sometimes
I think it's not necessarily always a question of fairness. I think sometimes it's a lack of knowledge and the availability of resources and robust systems. The first players in all of this profit sharing royalties are obviously going to be the bigger labels that are global, because they have the knowledge and the infrastructure.
Yeah.
So the last will be smaller Indian labels, because it's very new to us.
But we understand.
We're getting there. I'm not saying it's good. I'm not saying you guys get a free chit for not paying your artists. I'm just saying we're getting there.
And you keep mentioning Diljit, so I have to ask you about that because we are all fans. How do you think he's affecting the Indian music scene? Because what he's doing for us, India, globally, is going to obviously reflect on every artist. It's going to make a difference to your life in some way or the other in the future, right? What is your take on his sort of rise and what he's doing?
I have two answers to this. The first as a musician, and the second as a hybrid.
Okay.
As a musician, what he's accomplishing, I take a lot of pride on behalf of Diljit for his accomplishments, because he's really put us on a global stage.
Yeah.
And when you have an artist like this selling out the O2 multiple nights, and not the small venue, like the legit space, and selling out worldwide, doing multi-country tours, and pushing himself to be a true performer. That's something I've seen in the West growing up. It's expected of you as a musician in the West to be good at dancing, to be good at performing, to be able to captivate an audience beyond just singing.
Correct.
So having this mega setup of so many people dancing, the lights, the pyro, the big band, that whole sound, bringing this energy, his entry in like a superstar, all of that stuff, and down to the outfits, the styling choices, everything being so particular and curated is what it helps build an experience. One. Two, then it warrants global exposure. Then people in the West also understand. They're like, oh, he's like what we do. Because they wouldn't have gotten it before. And that's not purely based on otherizing or xenophobia or anything like that. They just, now they have something a little bit closer to what they know. So Diljit can translate more readily to an American audience now, because they know how this works. They're like, okay, he looks like one of our superstars. And oh my God, the pride I had, with what he was wearing at the Met Gala.
Oh my God.
Yeah, he's literally wearing Punjab on his back in more ways than one, which is so cool. And I think never straying from his identity, taking his interviews in Punjabi, being on stage speaking in Punjabi, and really just being like, if the entire world can adapt to being Bad Bunny fans, why not Diljit?
So true.
Which is so cool.
So true.
I don't speak Spanish. Why do I know every Bad Bunny song?
So true.
So it's great. I think he's going to be that first big push. And then the second thing is, now I have someone to aspire to as a musician actor. So what it's personally done for me is is showing me that it's possible
Right.
to do everything at scale.
Right.
And you, not only that, but to be excellent at everything. Because people have attempted this before, but his excellence as an actor and his excellence as a musician is
Correct.
there. So it's not just that, like, because he's a superstar, someone gave him an acting job. He was capable.
And he did a insane
phenomenal job.
Yeah,
So you can't look at him in Urta Punjab and say it wasn't good. It was phenomenal.
Correct.
So I have a metric now. I'm like, okay, now I'm here. Then we keep going and we keep going, and then you get to the Diljit level.
I love that.
And I'll be, very happy to get there one day.
Have you ever met him?
No, and clearly I'm like obsessed with him because I've spent 20 minutes talking about him now. It's just very
We're
creepy.
all obsessed with him.
Yeah, we are all obsessed with
Yeah.
him. I think that's like probably India's collective most stalked person on the internet.
Definitely. Last 2 years, 100%.
Yeah, I think after he had his conversations with Alexa in his kitchen.
Oh my God.
We were all like, we're here now.
Yeah.
I'm here, man.
Yeah,
Let's
and
go.
we were also like, okay, so we are not the only ones.
Yeah.
Alexa, there are other people Alexa is not listening to.
And it was so cute because what a unplanned, natural way for him to accidentally promote his song and just be struggling to get her to understand what he's saying.
Yeah.
And a very real reaction when Alexa finally gets it right.
Yeah.
I think he's just fantastic. And I think all of that is credited to his authenticity
So
and
true.
staying true to who
That
he is.
is at the core of everything, right?
Yeah.
Right. On a slightly more serious note, we've also seen the sort of criticism, say, someone like Jasleen has received for opening up for Coldplay. So that spectrum seems very wide. Like the love you can get when sometimes people going very nasty.
Yeah.
What is that
Tough.
like?
I think one fact is that it's much easier for people to hate something than to love it. I think it's like a sad part of the human condition when we see somebody get beaten down, we all gang up.
Yeah.
So do I think she deserved that level of hate? Absolutely not. I feel like she knows, she's cognizant of the fact that she could have done better, and she did.
Yeah.
By the time that she was playing the Ahmedabad show, she was aware. She changed whatever needed changing. She stepped up. She took on the challenge and played to 135,000 people.
Wow.
The biggest concert India's ever seen.
Yeah.
And the biggest concert Coldplay, which is a 25-year-long touring band, has ever put on. She headlined. So, like, I mean, you can say whatever you want, but she made the changes. And I would, I'm always going to champion a woman who's feeling isolated and just, left to die on stage when everybody is out with pitchforks and torches, hoping she fails.
Yeah.
So the fact that she took it on as a challenge and improved, hats off to her. I think that's fantastic.
So true.
And on top of that, what people don't understand is this is not a playback singer. She's singing her songs.
Yeah.
Have some respect for that.
Correct.
This is very different from someone coming out. Like, if I performed on that stage, I could not claim having composed or written all those songs.
Yeah.
I'd be singing, the majority of them would be songs other people have written for me. I think we should give her credit as a composer.
True.
Maybe 20 songs that we know of her catalog, like 12 of them are mega hits.
Yeah.
And she's the only one who has that credential. She's the only person who's not only competing, but exceeding most male artists in this country.
Yeah.
So it's fine. And also the metric is so different for men who fail. Like, I've seen horrible shows by men put on all the time. And we're okay with male mediocrity, but we're so much more severe on women. And that's a worldwide awful phenomenon.
Yeah.
But like I said, getting back to the point, she proved everyone wrong, right?
Yeah.
She put on a great 3 days in Ahmedabad and killed it.
Love that.
Yeah.
We were also discussing this, how there is something similar happening on the acting front as well, with Royals. We're talking about how globally people are resonating with it, right? Global number 3, hopefully number 1 very soon. But again, on the other end, there is a lot of criticism for one particular actor, and she's being sidelined. The similar thing is happening on the acting front. So is that do you think it's the same reflection across industries?
I think yes, to a degree. We have to just acknowledge that we could do much better by women overall. I think our metrics are very skewed. Our standards are very skewed. But on top of that, I just want to remind people, we all said the same thing about Emily in Paris. And it's on like season 27. Somebody cancel her Schengen. She is just everywhere now. Emily is outlasting all the criticism.
Yeah.
Lily Collins got so much flack because she was nominated for a Golden Globe for season 1. And everyone in America where the show is produced was like, how?
But you're right. I mean, Royals is a show that's supposed to be.
It's fun.
Yeah, it's supposed to be fun. And another show like that you also were a part of, that was
Yeah.
so good in the way it knew that this show, you're not supposed to take it seriously but have fun with it, was Call Me Way.
Yeah, we really leaned into it.
Yeah, and people love that. People
Yeah.
love the fact that the show was made in a way that these guys were like, okay, we know we're making this. We're very well aware of what
Yeah.
we're making. It's supposed to be fun. So have
Yeah.
fun. And people had a lot of fun.
Yeah, people had a lot of fun. And I
Yeah.
think if we could have that same sense of grace and, kindness towards how we spoke about even Ananya, who's received so much flack over the years, I would love to see some of that coming towards the cast of Royals for sure.
How was people's reaction to you in Call Me Way? What did you
In
hear?
Bay, I think because it was my debut,
Yeah.
first of all, people were like, oh, she can speak Hindi. And, wait, what?
It began
And
from there.
They thought that even the English portions in an Indian accent were dubbed. And I was like, no, that's just being an actor. I have to do these things for my job. It's part of my resume. And weirdly, no change in Royals. Everyone thought it was dubbed by somebody else. But no, that's me. It was really fun. I think Bay was a completely different experience because you have 5 characters who are doing Masti on the side, and I'm just being severe and watching them and being like, the whole time.
Yeah.
So I had a different journey on the
Yeah.
acting side because
Yeah.
I was playing a very like stern, no nonsense person
Yeah.
with a very out there cast.
Yeah.
This motley crew of kids and then Veer Das and stuff. But I had a blast. It was the way that was handled, the type of friendships that came out of it. It was a breeze.
Yeah.
Yeah, Goodfoot told me when we wrapped, he was just like, you'll never get this anywhere else. He's like, this was a magic set. And
Wow.
I stand by it.
Yeah.
I think it'll just be something that's a class apart.
And that reflects. That's what comes
Yeah,
across
it just
the
comes
screen,
off
right?
as
The
a bunch of
chemistry
people
is
having
visible.
fun. Yeah.
Yeah.
I think we killed it. That was a great show. And we killed it on Royals too,
Yeah.
guys. It was a
I think you
great
did.
show.
I mean, if the numbers are speaking,
The
people
numbers
are
are speaking.
resonating. So you don't.
Yeah.
I mean, you can say whatever you want.
That's right.
And what next? Where do you want to go from here?
I think an Oscar.
Fair.
Wow.
It's the obvious next step.
It's the obvious next step.
Fair. Thank you, guys.
Yep, that's it. That's how we wrap. A Grammy, an Oscar. I'm going for the EGOT. No, I think ideally I would like to be in a feature. That would be great. And then my screen time on Royals, and we 6X it next time.
Yeah.
And put a little more pressure on me.
Yeah.
I like the pressure. I like, having to rise to that. So
That's
excited for
fun.
that.
And
And then
I-
music-wise,
Yeah.
music is always musicking. My next song comes out in 3 weeks.
Oh,
Yeah, it's a romantic ballad. It's a waltz. It's a 3/4 waltz.
wow.
And this whole year is about that. Maybe it was inspired by Royals. I'm just in this mood to make love songs.
Love that.
And I've made so many heartbreak songs, so I needed to lighten up a little bit. Advice for everybody. We should all lighten up.
Yeah. So true. So true. That should be the mantra for
That's right.
the world right now. Lighten up, guys. Take a chill pill. All right. We're at the very end of the podcast, and I have a fun section for you. We're going to
Sure.
be very quick about this.
Sure.
This is just things that we've realized have been on the internet related to the music industry, related to you, related to acting, that we sort of want to run by you. Tell us
Okay.
very quickly what your thoughts are,
Sure.
and let's see where it goes.
All right.
Awesome. All right. What's the one thing you believe needs to change in the music industry?
More women at the top of the charts.
And what's one thing you believe needs to change in the acting industry?
Better writing so that great actors can pull off great roles.
Yeah. Do you think music labels still have a monopoly,
Yes, absolutely.
and that needs to change?
That needs to change.
Does that somewhere reflect into an exploitation of artists?
No, I don't think it's exploitative, but it could certainly even out to be more independent.
Yeah.
And less label led.
And what about the indie music scene in India? How do you think that's progressing?
Fantastically. 8 of the 10 songs on the charts right now are non-film.
Yeah.
So, it's not independent necessarily.
Right.
Some of them are label-backed non-film songs. But it's exciting to see this massive change happen.
Yeah. And what about singing in English? Do you think there's a market in India?
Hanumankind did it. So it's up to the rest of us to carry the torch forward.
Yeah. And what do you think about this overuse of autotune in the industry? Is it true? Does it happen?
It's a lot. It's a lot. I might, get burnt at the stake for this, but I can't stand it.
Yeah.
I miss people singing because they can actually sing. Autotune is a helpful tool
Right.
to clean up.
Right. To fix a few mistakes.
Yeah, it shouldn't be
Not
your
to
whole
fix
thing.
the singing.
Yeah, not to make a singer out of someone who isn't.
Yeah. Final question. This is unrelated to anything you've spoken about, but we were talking about this, and I happened to see you mention somewhere that you are a huge Shah Rukh fan. Just want to understand what is the story there before we end, because we are all Shah Rukh fans. Like, what's happening there?
It's just being an NRI. It's just being an NRI.
All right.
You know, Yashraj and Dharma have given us this disease of being obsessed with Shah Rukh, which we're very happy to take on this disease.
Yeah.
I think it was the 90s and 2000s. We were just flooded with cinema that was about life abroad, and all of it was starring Shah Rukh.
True.
So I think we connected so much because it was much harder for me to understand Shah Rukh in the context of India as a kid. It made much more sense for me seeing him in New York in Kal Ho Na Ho, or seeing him in London in K3G, or everything else. And I think that's what made him this global superstar too.
True.
He's got such a strong NRI fan base.
Yeah. No, fair. With that, we come to the end of the podcast. I have a request that you've probably never received. This is very, very new. Kuch ga ke suna sakte
Oh my
hain
God.
kya?
I had a feeling you were going to say this. And I was like, no, I think he's being sincere.
Yeah.
Sure. You know what I'll do? I will sing a little from my upcoming song.
Oh, yes.
Which is unreleased and independent.
Love
and I
that.
can do this because I own the song.
I love that.
No one can tell me I can't.
Yeah.
Okay, this song is called Teri Hoon. And it's this beautiful, beautiful ballad about a sort of overwhelming, all-consuming love. Imagine like a John Legend All of Me.
Oh,
where
wow.
it's like, I will give anything to this person. I wanted to write about that level of vulnerability when you're so in love. So here it goes.
Yeah.
I'll sing from the pre-chorus. Here it is. ढूंढा दोनों जहानों में कहीं तेरे सिवा कोई नहीं मेरे तो सांसों में है लिखी तू ही तेरी हूँ हर एक हाल में पास तेरे रहूं तेरी हूँ हर एक सांस में साथ तेरे रहूं.
Wow.
Yeah.
I have goosebumps.
It's such a pretty song.
It's so nice, and I
Yeah.
have so much respect for people who can sing, because I can't sing to save my life. And
But
are
you could auto-tune.
This is so nicely.
Thank you so
are
much for having me.
phenomenally talented. You are so grounded. You're so self-aware as a person. It's a very rare quality to have in people. And you don't take yourself too seriously, which is why I think you're going to kill it in life.
Thank you.
I hope all the best things for you. You have a lot coming up that we are excited about.
Yes,
Thank
I
you.
love this Humans of Bombay Nostradamus.
Yeah.
moment. It's just like, I see this.
I see this. I see you. But thank you for doing this.
Thank you so much.
Lovely.
This was such a great time.
I hope you had a good time.
Yes, I had a great time.
Ladies and gentlemen, Lisa Mishra.